So let's kind of move into the next topic here. Trent Williams and this offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
So I personally believe that Trent Williams is the number one priority. Re-signing him to hopefully a 2-year contract is the number one priority.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's more important than a lot of the other positions. I know corner is definitely a huge need because, as far as I know, every single corner on the roster, if you're not counting Jimmy Ward, because he's more of a safety, but if you're not counting him, I think it's every single corner on the roster is a free agent.
Yeah.
So you could say that, but I'm still going to say that signing Trent Williams is the biggest priority just because we've seen the offensive line struggle. He was probably, him and Lake and Tomlinson were probably the only bright spots on that offensive line last year. So Grant, is that like a high-end priority for you bringing him back?
No, but I see it differently, and I think it's a high priority for them because look, they traded a 3rd-round pick for him. That's a lot of value to just. I mean, did they trade him? Did they trade a 3rd-round pick for a rental? Maybe it's possible, and I think that's fair to trade a 3rd-round pick for a rental. I just feel like, look, you're going to have to pay him 20, 21, 22, maybe 23 million a year, and although he's excellent, he doesn't seem to make his teammates better. And I thought Joe Staley did, in the sense that Staley was the leader. Staley held others accountable. Staley would, and holding people accountable means if Mike McGlinchey plays bad, Joe Staley's going to tell him about it in the film sessions. If Mike McGlinchey weighs 285 pounds, Joe Staley's not going to let that happen. He's going to make sure he's 315 at his listed weight, that kind of stuff. Trent Williams, he's the best player on the line, but he doesn't want to be a leader. I've seen it from him. He's cool. He's on his own. And I think the best player in your offensive line should be the leader too, especially for all the money you're making. He seems like he kind of sets the tone of, hey man, I played well. No, it's not about you. You're a 5-man unit. You guys didn't play well. I don't like the attitude from that team, from that offensive line. And I feel like Trent Williams sets it. Joe Staley set a different attitude. That's what I'm used to. He was there for like 15 years. I don't know. Maybe I'm a little too harsh, but that's what I see. I feel like Trent Williams, he's supposed to be this cornerstone player at a cornerstone position. He's never really been on a winning team. He doesn't seem to like have any type of intangible effect on everyone else. I don't know. It's a lot of money for a left tackle.
Yeah, and left tackle is a premium position, but I think that you bring up a fair enough point when you're comparing him to a guy like Joe. Also, though, at the same time, like Joe Staley is 49ers legend. He might be most people's fans in the last 20 years. It's him and Frank Gore, the people that you think of when you think of the 49ers.
Absolutely. And like Trent Williams is a better individual player than Joe Staley, no question. That's why Trent Williams will get more money. But Joe Staley, I think, was a better had more of an impact on winning somehow.
Yeah, no, and you brought up the whole unit thing.
Yeah.
That never gets brought up with offensive linemen. Like people don't bring up like, all right, like this guy's, he's so good. And for instance, like McGlinchey, you brought him up. I think McGlinchey is one of those guys that you brought up the weight and he's playing way underweight and you could see it on the field.
Yeah.
But also the guys next to him aren't helping him out. And he doesn't have Kittle there helping him out because Mike's never been a premier pass blocker and he never will be. That's just how it is. I mean, he's a great guy. You want an open space. You want him blocking for the Debos and the Ayuks on the jet sweeps.
Yep. But
he needs help. And so you got to help him. I also like that you brought up the accountability stuff because, that's a big deal for an older guy. What is Trent Williams, 34?
I think he's about 33. Or he's going to be 33 this summer. I think he's a few months younger than me. So I think that'll make him 32 right now.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, he's one of the older guys in the team. He's going to be one of the highest paid players on the team if he comes back. He needs to take ownership of the team the way Joe Staley did. I mean, there were reports of Joe Staley like calling Mike McGlinchey during the season. Joe Staley's retired. He doesn't have to do this anymore. It's not his place. He can't. You can't lead from the retirement couch as much as you want to. Like the best player on the unit has to lead it. And it's like there needs to be a cohesion on your offensive line in a way that you don't have to have that at wide receiver. Wide receivers can be divas. It doesn't matter if your best receiver is Terrell Owen and he doesn't care about their other wide receivers. Who cares? Just get open. But the offensive line is kind of like the defensive backfield. They all have to work together. And I'd like to see leadership from a guy who's getting $20 million a year.
I think that's a really good point. Mike Iupati just retired, and I saw a bunch of people talking about how well that Harbaugh era offensive line played together.
Yeah.
Looking at the names, it was like Joe Staley, Boone, Iupati, Anthony Davis, and Goodwin. Yeah. And I think Iupati and Staley were the only ones who were ever Pro Bowlers. But
that's right.
That offensive line played together like really, really well, and they dominated people at the point of attack. So I think that's a really good point. I'm in favor of bringing Trent Williams back, given that we have question marks at center and right guard. I think you would know better than Matt or I, Grant, but I doubt Weston Richburg is going to be back. And right guard was a revolving door last year. So there's some major question marks there as well. But to harp on your earlier point of it being a rental, we gave up a 3 and a 4 for 5 and Sanders last year. And he was definitely a rental.
Yep.
So we've seen that kind of approach before, and we thought we were going to be contenders going into this year. Injuries really derailed that, but I would say Trent Williams was a win now move. And I was fine with the trade. I think we gave up a 3 and a 5 for, I think it was the number 3 graded left tackle. I would still bring him back, given, I mean, I guess it depends what kind of contract he wants. This isn't Madden where you can offer somebody 2 years and $25 million.
Let me propose something to you real quick. It's like, think about the Niners offensive line as a blank slate. It sucks. Okay. And what you could do is, would you want to spend your cap money on the best left tackle on the market? Or do you want to get maybe the 3rd or 4th best left tackle and a starting center? That's the way I look at it. Like, you might be able to get 2 starters for the price of 1. And Trent Williams, great individual player, he's not going to help out the other 4. So
yeah, I mean,
that's how does that sound to you? I mean, I don't have specific names. But
yeah, that definitely. I mean, names that pop to my head is like Alex Mack, a guy that we maybe couldn't afford if we bring
Trent Williams.
If we bring Trent Williams back.
Yeah.
But like, we have some ways to some cap space. Again, you would probably know what that D Ford injury guarantee looks like. Is he going to make it? I don't know.
The deal with D Ford is they can't cut him until he can pass a physical.
Is he going to pass the physical by June 1st?
Well, I think the injury guarantee kicks in April 1st. So if he's on the team April 1st, they have to give him more than $11 million. And it doesn't seem like he's going to be passing a physical before then. If I were him, I wouldn't. I'm just saying, I'll find a way to not pass that physical. And, they may pay him $11 million on April 1st and he could retire April 2nd. You don't know. So, I mean, they're kind of screwed in that sense. I don't think they're getting cap space there.
Yeah. I would still bring back Trent Williams on a 2 or 3 year deal, given that he is a premier guy at the position. Keep in mind, it was a COVID offseason. He got traded.
True.
Didn't really get to know the offensive line the same way that Staley.
That's a good point.
For 15
years.
That's
a good point. That's a good point.
There's
not a lot of camaraderie building time. That's a really good point.
Exactly. So we'll see what that looks like next year. I would love to bring him back, but like you said, it needs to be at the right price. And honestly, I'd take 2 starters for 1, given that.
I think I would too. There's another guy, Alejandro Villanueva, plays left tackle from Pittsburgh. You could get him and Alex Mack. I like that. Now you've upgraded 2/5 of your offensive line.
And then you just need to worry about guard in the draft, and you can focus potentially more on a quarterback or something like that.
Well, depending on how you feel about Mike McGlinchey. But
Going back to like talking about not re-signing Trent Williams, but instead going after 2 other players.
Yeah,
I do think that a lot of that depends on who those players are, how they fit, what like the scheme. Is there going to be a guy that's even close to as good as getting out in open space as Trent Williams? It could be tough.
No, probably not.
And so there's a couple things like that. Also, you kind of start thinking about like, okay, well, what could the Niners have done at left tackle? The big one that's been brought up a lot lately, Tristan Wirfs.
Yeah.
And I know you're not the biggest Javon Kinlaw fan. I'm a huge Javon Kinlaw fan. I'll put that out there. But I'll say this. If you don't trade for Trent Williams and you have Tristan Wirfs, going into this offseason, you feel a lot better about the offensive line.
Yes.
So
that's
Kinlaw, what I think.
I just feel like I don't know what they thought they were getting. This is Kinlaw. Kinlaw's a hell of an athlete for a 300-pound defensive tackle. He's not necessarily a pass rusher. He'll get some sacks. He's good against the run. He's athletic. And he's a good athlete. He's not going to be, I don't think, a super dominant, consistent pass rusher. He wasn't that in college. He could develop in the NFL. I doubt it. It seems to me like that's the kind of guy, if you get him in after the 20th pick, you're juiced. If you get him in the second round, you're so happy because he's a really good player. But at pick 13, 14, you passed on Tristan Wirfs. You passed on a potential 10-year, 15-year left tackle, hold you down, premium position. Yeah, that's a problem. That's the only reason I've got a problem with Javon Kinlaw. Not who he is. He's cool. I mean, the knee thing, that bothers me because this is a team that's had injury issues, knows it's a problem, uses it as an excuse. They need to stop doing stuff like this and getting the guy. Well, yeah, he has a tendonitis in his knee, but it's all right. Like he just had it. He just had surgery. So other than all those things, I really like Javon Kinlaw. Sorry to interrupt you. Keep going.
No, you're fine. And you bring up the injury stuff. I know. So I actually work at the Cal Poly football facility, and one of my buddies there, he was saying that Jalen Hurd, because his dad coaches high school football, and he said, like, look, Jalen Hurd's been hurt his whole life.
The thing with Jalen Hurd, when the Niners took him, a bunch of Tennessee fans on Twitter were like, hey, good luck with that. Hey, it seemed like they knew.
The only thing that makes me stop about that Tristan Wirfs take is we traded for Trent Williams before the draft. We had no way of knowing he was going to be there at 13. And say we don't trade for Trent Williams.
I think they traded for Trent Williams at the day after day one.
Day after day one?
So too.
I think it's okay. It's all right. It's all right.
I was going to say, what if we got fucked with Isaiah Wilson?
With who?
Isaiah, the guy who just quit playing for the Titans, who was their first round tackle. Isaiah Wilson. He played 4 snaps, 3 were kneel downs, and 1 was an extra point, and he quit.
He quit? Did he retire? Did he opt out?
I think he's becoming
he retired.
I think he's becoming a rapper.
Really?
Yep.
That's inspirational. Yeah, no. God, he got like the signing bonus. He was like, "Oh, I'm getting the platinum grill." That's dope. Good for that guy. I love him. Love it. Love it. Yeah, no, I guess you don't want that.
He took his money and ran.
Yeah,
that's legendary. Wow, that's like Quan
Alexander. You don't see that every
legendary
day.
Status. No, that's what's up. Nice. Yeah. I'm glad that didn't happen. Javon Kinlaw, he's not doing that. He's just eating rodents with his. Hell was that?
That was pretty odd. I will say that.
That was odd. But maybe they do things different in South Carolina.
I think so.
I think it's fair.
A little different than Cali.
Just a little.